Hey, it's Soul, and this is Warcraft Weekly, barely prepared for what's to come. You can help support the channel by liking this video, subscribing for more WoW coverage, and catching me where I'm live. Gamescom is next week, and along with it, the announcement for Midnight and a whole lot more. So we're going to break things down so you know what's happening, when it's going to happen, and when I'm going to get around to covering it. This coming Tuesday, August 19th at 11 a.m. Pacific is Gamescom's opening night live, and I will be co-streaming it both here and on Twitch. It's like a 2-and-some-hour show featuring a bunch of game previews. Somewhere in there is going to be the big old midnight announcement. So for that, we're all going to hang out here and chill while we wait for the reveal, and then react, and maybe blast out my reaction and responses in some quick video uploads, and then chat some more. Now, for those who have seen me do that, I straight up do edits in front of you, and I push out VODs during streams. Originally, Blizzard announced a big presentation featuring Holly Longdale, Ian Hazzikostas, and Chris Metzen. They would be talking at midnight after opening night live. Now that appears to have since changed to a more traditional developer presentation format that's going to be spread throughout the week. So on Thursday, the 21st at 4 a.m. Pacific, as in the morning, there's going to be a panel featuring the world, the zones, the quest, and story for Midnight. A video on demand thing is supposed to be available shortly after that panel ends, which means during my normal streaming schedule, which means after I wake up, that's going to be 8:30 a.m. Pacific. I'm going to be here on stream watching and reacting and maybe doing some live uploads. And then Saturday morning at 2 a.m. Pacific, their systems panel. We're gonna get into features and some other fun stuff. I'm gonna stream that morning on Saturday. I know that's kind of weird. To watch the VOD, I'll do some more reactions. Maybe I'll do some live uploads, that sort of thing. And then on Sunday, I'll be offline trying to whip together a big old meaty roundup of everything we've learned throughout the week. So you should definitely come this coming Tuesday for the big live reactions, while the rest of the week is going to be me mostly catching up and looking at whatever happened to be saved as a VOD. But we'll be spending some time poring over footage and clips and news as it comes in, so I hope to see you there. Now let's return to the present, or the sort of presents, because we're going to be looking ahead to what's happening with the Legion remix. It made a sudden splash this week with little mentions and screenshots, and then hey, here it is on the PTR for 2 weeks so people can check it out. I did my read and reaction video the other day, and I'm not going to cover every single detail of it here or all the screenshots, but I did try it out on the PTR for a few hours, and today I'm going to share what's happening in the Legion remix along with my reactions so far in this first build. As for when the remix is coming out, there's some data mine info, but I cover all that later in the video, so you can use the navigation thing below to get to where I talk about the when of everything. Now, by and large, it's the remix. You're replaying the Legion expansion, and this time it's complete with the artifact and the class quest lines. Of course, remix style, you're killing everything that moves for bronze and what is now called this infinite power. So they separated power progression and currency purchases, so you're no longer asking yourself, oh, which thing should I focus on first? The answer is basically yes. Now, there are some big shifts too. The gems and customization of zany powers from the MOP remix, that didn't come back. Instead, we have an artifact weapon, and we pump this infinite power into that. So the thread-like farming, that's coming back. And inside the weapon is this fork-like progression tree, which is the same for everyone. It's pretty straightforward too. You just drop points and you follow the path, and once you reach each prong on the fork, you can only choose one artifact ability to activate at a time, and then you power it up further by going down the line until you finally reach the end, and your remaining points or currency or whatever it's called will always go into this final infinite trait that'll, I guess, take you into God mode. You can skip some of the earlier talents so you can get access to powers sooner, but eventually you'll be done with that too, and then you're simply respecking based on what artifact ability you want to use, and as long as you're out of combat, you can swap them out freely. Before upgrades, there are 5 artifact powers. The nature one is a line effect that deals damage and protects allies in the effect. The fell one, which is my favorite so far, this one summons a floating doom guard to bombard enemies. The arcane power shoots out a disc. You can bounce several times for extra damage if you can handle the movement. The nature ability basically does thunderclap a whole bunch of times, and the holy ability is similar to a druid. It's a beam of light that crushes enemies below, but also heals nearby allies. The powers are usable by anyone, but some trees are more useful than others. Like for example, this one offers a path that lets you move while casting. Gear and accessories are also a bit different this time around. They give flat primary stats and direct increases to your secondary stats. You don't upgrade them anymore, it looks like. It seems you'll just keep getting drops and then scrapping them in your portable trash can. That's coming back too. As for the accessories, what they do in the Legion Remix is give bonuses to the cooler upgrade nodes in your artifact tree, so your inventory might start filling up with a bunch of these real quick, especially towards endgame. In theory, I might be able to get a bunch of accessories focused on like a single favorite trait to make it super overpowered, but it's between this and choosing which artifact power to have is where we get that feeling of customization. You can also use accessories that activate traits that aren't attached to the artifact ability you chose. Now, you can see here, I have this move while casting talent unlocked even though I'm on the fell tree, and that's thanks to one of my accessories. Gaining power in the Legion Remix is going to be pretty straightforward. As long as you're killing everything, you're gaining bronze for buying cosmetics, you're getting this infinite power, which is used to plug points into that talent tree I was talking about, and every now and then you get these on-use items that increase the power of your artifact weapon, depending on what you have equipped. As so far, I'm noticing the fastest way of powering up your artifact traits is to fly around and intercept lost creatures in the air, but it doesn't get you gear or levels, and I'm sure by the time this whole thing goes live, there's going to be some meta to quickly get powered up, and we'll just keep an eye out for that. The heroic tier mode, as they call it, is accessible pretty much right from the start, although it does suggest that you be a level of 25. Now, as a tank, of course, I hopped in right away, and what I saw was that throughout the world, health values of mobs were nearly doubled, and every now and then I'll find more difficult mobs with various affixes to make them a bit more troublesome. Now, as for how effective this is going to be, I'm kind of a skeptic because no matter how tough one can make outdoor world content, we're still using characters of 2025's version of WoW with lots of defensives and self-healing and crowd control, and we can fly around, not to mention just grouping with others and zerging stuff down. Now, as for the boots on the ground kind of experience, like I said, it's the remix. The flow is mostly the same, but there's a lot more questing with the artifact and the order hall quest lines, like those are still there. The remix outright skips the mission table portion of it with this infinite dragon magic. It'll just auto-complete most everything. And there's a ton of rewards to get. They're all packed up in one convenient spot just by Dalaran. The one thing I'm not as enthusiastic about, at least at the moment, is the start of this whole Legion Remix experience, but I think this is actionable feedback. Those who remember the mob remix recall how we would start collecting these zany powers right away. In my playtesting on the Legion Remix so far, it wasn't until close to level 20 or so when I finished the grind to get the artifact powers, and that's me taking a pretty direct route. I was skipping the other traits, at least for the moment. And it wasn't until shortly after that when the accessories started to drop to power up these random nodes. So the problem I have is for the first few hours or so, up until we reach level 20, it doesn't quite feel like what should be the Legion Remix. It felt more like Legion Chromie time. And I think Blizzard should try to avoid that. Maybe let people choose a power right away for some immediate newness. Maybe that would break the whole feeling of this, progressing down a tree. I don't know how it should be shaped instead, but I think it'd be worth it. One of the notable vendors that showed up on the remix, though, is this one that sells housing decor, or at least it will sell housing decor. Right now, there's nothing on the vendor. Now I'm going to take a stab and say this is a message to all of us that yes, housing can be purchased through the remix, but probably not until after the 11.2.7 patch. Now that gives some of us who might have limited time but unlimited wants a chance to sort of, plan our remix adventures. Maybe we can farm up the bronze necessary to buy most, if not all, of the housing stuff early on, and when housing does launch, maybe we could just spend a few minutes back in the remix to buy all that stuff, and then off we go. Or we can set time aside for later in the remix when all the phases are unlocked and we can get carried through these dungeons and raids by those overpowered burly folk who stuck around the whole time. I'm probably going to be one of them. But whatever the case, we'll be jumping in at some point to pick up whatever's available. There's a lot that I haven't touched, and I'll try to cover this a bit more before the 2-week period is over, so stay tuned. If not, blame the midnight coverage because there's just going to be a lot going on over the next couple of days and weeks. The remix is arguably the main feature, but it's only a part of patch 11.2.5. The other pieces of this patch include some much needed updates to the cooldown manager, so it's like customizable now, as well as data to kick off the turbo boost. The details are still a little bit scarce, but we're already seeing the updated item levels on gear on the PTR, as well as crafting recipes, and according to the dev notes, vendors will start showing up and they'll sell the cool items from Season 3 raids and dungeons, which is kind of pouring concrete on my theory of a Season 4 or a Season 4-like experience with the turbo boost. Like, I was hoping they would also bring back the old raids and the other War Within dungeons too. I thought it'd be a wild way to round out the rest of the expansion, but anyway. Another new thing coming with the turbo boost are that catalyst charges are going to be able to drop from season content, and we'll be able to buy hero track versions of the delve trinkets, which I think is pretty cool. So when is everything going to happen? Version 7.1000, whatever. There's info out there. Some of the info is reliable, some of it not so much. All of it, of course, is subject to change or to edit, but let's practice some guesswork. Wowhead data mining revealed the Legion remix would start the week of October 7th until January 19th. Now, that's a little bit over 3 months. Patch 11.2 only dropped the other week, and if we count the usual 8-week patch cadence, we actually land on September 30th as a predicted patch date. However, the recent Legion Remix article says, quote, "We can't wait to see you on the Broken Isles in the Legion Remix when the 11.2.5 content update goes live." It strongly suggests the patch and remix will launch simultaneously, and while that adds another week to the cadence, this would actually make up for the patch gap between 11.1.7 and 11.2, which was only 7 weeks, probably with respect to Gamescom. Still though, we're looking pretty confident with this October 7 date, even if the actual patch might be a week off. According to the announcement, the Legion Remix will have 4 phases with 2-week gaps in between. Now, I know the other day I shared my dissatisfaction with having to wait, but this seems to be a response to the Mop Remix feedback that I felt pretty bad jumping in even a little bit late and seeing people like zooming around, and it made those late people's experience feel kind of weird, but I'm kind of getting off topic. With 4 phases, we can expect these kinds of launch dates for each one, and Phase 4 will start November 4th. Now, based on this, though, that means it won't be a month, but well over 2 months more of the remix before the data mined January 19th end date, which is fine, I think. Some have suggested, though, that this is going to line up with the midnight launch, just like how the Mop Remix ended just before the War Within early access. Now, if that were the case, that suggests the pre-patch for midnight is going to happen around the holidays, around December, which I think would be very weird. So for now, I'm going to dismiss that prediction. Now let's backtrack a bit. The turbo boost for Season 2 happened 10 weeks into that season. If the same patterns followed, the turbo boost for Season 3 is going to begin the week of October 21st, which is the same week Phase 3 of the Legion Remix begins. And that seems pretty good to me. 11.2.7 might launch the week of November 18th, a week before Thanksgiving and the usual company break, and I'm going to throw my prediction out there. That's going to be when player housing will begin its early access. It's been reported that the player housing build at Gamescom right now is using a patch 11.2.7 build, so this kind of lines up. If WoW follows its usual patch cadence, that's going to mean another 3 months of player housing stuff, where most of us will probably spend time with like legacy collections and just getting used to the system, like the controls and all that. I have a feeling certain features will not be accessible, like the leveling track or endeavors, the way to get like monthly rewards and stuff. I think that works out okay. Like, we're going to be busy working out the past 20 years worth of housing first anyway. Prediction wise, we're well into the fog of war at this point, so I'm going to guess between 11.2.7 and the 12.0 pre-patch. With the Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays, we're going to look at around like a 10-week patch cadence, which is what we've been seeing for a while now. That's going to mean the pre-patch may happen the week of January 27th, possibly a week earlier to line up with the remix end date, maybe. Traditionally, the pre-patch has been 5 weeks long, and we land at February 27th for a possible early access, and on March 2nd, a worldwide release of Midnight, give or take a week. Yeah, again, I say this is accurate within like a week or two. We've been gently adjusting the needle here and there for the past year, but hey, who knows? As soon as Tuesday, we might be thrown for a loop because, surprise, there's gonna be a Season 4. I'm just kidding. That's going to be the show, and I couldn't squeeze this in well enough for the weekly today, but how's Season 3 been treating you so far? Now, I have noticed quite a few remaining bugs, not to mention the one that didn't give us the Delver's Journey progress. Now, that's since been fixed, and I think it's pretty much in. I happen to be at milestone 3 of the Delver's Journey all of a sudden, so I bought some Delve trinkets today, and I thought that was kind of neat. We've been in the middle of a pretty exciting time in World of Warcraft with a ton going on. And honestly, I don't blame players for accusing Blizzard of biting off more than it can chew with all these releases going on that don't have the polish that we should expect. But personally, I also really like the faster pace, and especially looking back on Season 2, I'm glad I kept my interest steady while dabbling into like other activities or playing other games, because it turned out I still had enough time to do everything. Now it's just enjoying the raid, which has been awesome. We got the whole thing down this week, and I'm looking forward to what is next. That would be great if you would join me next week for the reactions. It's been a long time since I reacted to an expansion, and I'm not at like the big public event, so let's share in the excitement. Let's give a huge thanks to everyone showing up on the live streams. I hope to see more of you. A shout out to our lovely patrons, and of course to you, viewer. You made it to the end, you fed the algorithm. And now, if you could please like the video, subscribe for more WoW coverage, catch me live, and I'll catch you later. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.